Okay, this is going to be my last medium short video today on offense, and we're going to talk about striker play. And there's a lot going on here, but we're just going to try to reduce it down to what their strikers' responsibilities are. There's a lot of new people coming on board for striker, and so let's discuss this as simply as we can. So, firstly, your job is to score goals. Okay, your job is to get yourself into a position where you have the ball into this situation. Obviously, right? I'm not trying to scale, but you have your chance to get you. Your job is to score goals. That doesn't mean you're going to score 50 goals or 2 goals or what have you, but you get yourself into position so you can take a shot on goal. Number one. Number two is to make yourself as aggravating, as aggressive as possible for the defense to handle. We want this striker position to be somebody, or it doesn't matter who we can have 4 or 5 different people playing striker. That doesn't matter. But you have to have the similar characteristic of making it very difficult on these two back center backs in particular. Okay. Pick up. Okay. So for the most part, this is what it's going to look like in the offensive side of the ball. Okay. If you don't have the ball, it's going to look like this. Okay. If you are crowded by these two positions right here, you're making it very difficult for us to get past this defense. You have to any striker has got to go back and forth. So if this ball gets passed over to the 6, striker's got to come over here. Okay, you've got to give yourself an option. You get the ball, you make a run. If the ball gets passed back over here, the 6 to the 10, let's say we get it back to the 8, your responsibility is to come back over here. It is to make yourself as flexible as possible. Too often, when I tell people to stay in the last defender, while that's literally correct, and we'll talk about 1 or 2 scenarios where this is going to be accurate, what happens is as this ball moves back and forth across this field on a lateral basis, your job is to complement these passes and get yourself in an area that, what do we talk about in the first offensive video? How do I get myself into open space? Am I being seen? Am I sitting behind this too? This is no good in this situation. Okay, I'm not available here. So again, very simply, you need to be very aggressive about moving back and forth and moving without the ball. If a striker is standing very static, it's not going to help the team. It's just not going to help. So moving without the ball as a striker is extremely important. Okay, hovering back and forth is just ball moving back and forth. Okay, that's principle number one, just tracking the ball back and forth. Now, when we're in a situation like this, and we're going to be kind of on the defensive side of the ball, and I'm going to show you, since there's a lot of new people here, what can happen to the striker. And everyone's pushed up, and we're just going to keep doing this and try to do our best to make this work, make it as clear as possible. What will happen is when the ball's on our defensive side, these two players will push up and keep you onside. Okay. So onside, offside, to me, I think is pretty simple. This is onside, meaning so offside looks like this. This is the opposite. This is offside. You can't goal hang. You can't sit by the keeper down here. You're going to be offsides. Okay. So you've got to be at least in front of the last player on the field to be onside. If the ball is here, you can go after the ball because the ball is here. So it's really the last player or the ball. Okay. Now, here's something that's crazy for strikers to learn. This is offside just as much as this is offside. So it's very, very specific as what offsides looks for. So if there's a pass that goes to here and you're here, this is just as offsides as up here. So as long as you have a player or the ball in front of the goalie here, you're going to be on sides. So let's go back to here. So what will happen in a game is they're going to push. We'll be on defense. We'll be pushed all down in here. Okay, we'll be pushed all down in here, and these two players are going to push you something like this. They're going to try to push you inside this circle. Okay, and then they're going to keep you here. Now, when I say be in the last defender, you can be on this side or you can be on this side. What we don't want you doing is staying specifically in the center. Again, what I just said in offense of rotating back or sliding back and forth is the exact same thing we want you to do in a defensive situation. If the ball comes over here, and I've messed everything up. If the ball comes over here, you're going to have to rotate back here. Why? Because now you've got this entire alleyway. You've got this entire alleyway as an option. If you move back in here, these two players can squeeze you in tight, and you don't have much of an option, right? Now this will happen with the 4 as well. I mean, obviously these backs will be back in here. The ball can slide over here, but you've got these big alleys to get yourself into as the ball rotates back and forth. The other thing this helps dramatically is if you have a winger and you've rotated here and you get yourself in front of this center back, where can this winger go to? They can just get this ball to you and you're off to the races. Okay. What we've done too often in the past is stay in a situation like this. So again, just like on offense, I'm moving it back and forth and sort of a running out of pen here, running in a lateral sort of a position. There's no difference here when you get to the center line, running in a lateral position back and forth. Wherever that ball slides into, you want to get yourself on the outside of this back, the center back, or the outside of the center back here. Okay, very simple. The reason why you want to do this is not only we want it's um, to make it again as difficult as you possibly can for these back now to cover you. So let's talk about this. You come over here. This three's got to come over here. If the 2 doesn't shift, and let's say again, this is Sarah back up here in the 8. She's got a whole area she can move up into. You've got to be forcing these center backs to make a decision over and over and over. They don't have to make a decision if you're just going to stand here, right? And by the way, you don't have to run aggressively back and forth. You think you're going to find throughout the season now, and back on offense, you're going to have to make a lot of motion. But on defense, when the ball's being shifted back here, all right, and obviously this is a big mess. Over here, the ball's going to get knocked all the way across. You just have to follow this here as the ball cuts all the way across. Now, right? Really simple, not complicated. Now back here on offense, we're just going to make things really easy here. And we're going to leave everyone back. And we're just going to get one ball here. We're going to give center Cam here. Just like I talked about in the last video, getting this ball down into zone 2 or zone 1. This pen's dead. Zone 1 or zone 2. You want to make yourself available to make this run towards this box because your responsibility is to try to score a goal. It doesn't have to be a banger into the top corner. It can just be just soft pass, kick, low ball kick. Just get yourself the opportunity. So when the ball's down in here and the wingers are trying to cross this ball, whether it's the 7 or the 11, it really doesn't matter. We're going to talk about the Cam situation here. But anytime this ball gets crossed, you've got to be making a run into this box. You've got to be make a joke last year. You got to be Johnny on the spot, right? You've got to get this ball into this. So the ball's going to come across. You've got to be here, whether it's the 7 or it's, pardon me, the 7. It's going to do the same thing. They pass it through here. Ball comes through here. This is where you got to be crashing the box. You've got to be really aggressive in the top over here. Now, obviously, this is not drawn to scale. Okay. Those are the super basics of it. We're going to work on it. So the 3 tenants are on offense. You want to be drifting back and forth. On defense, you want to be drifting back and forth to find those columns to get yourself into. When the ball is being down here in the wings, you want to move yourself back up and get yourself into the top of that box. One other thing that's really, really effective for going back and forth with the cam and yourself, or it can also be the attacking mid or even the defensive mid here. What can happen in a game is making yourself available for this pass here. So the cam comes to here, you grab the ball here. Now you are facing this way. Let's pretend we don't have a chance to kind of bust through here. The ball obviously can get through here, then you can make a run through. But let's use my example. The cam passes to you. Now you have the ball. Now you have an option of these 3 players here to get the ball to. As soon as you get the ball to somebody, where do you go? You got to make a run somewhere. We cannot maintain a static position, just like I talked about the first video. Now, a great point here gets it to, Cam passes it to the 9, 9 passes it back. If the 10's high enough, they can shoot, take an opportunity. But even if the 10 gets this ball, you've got to raise your hand and say, hey, I'm making a run back into zone 2 or making a run down into zone 1. But again, it's a constant motion situation. If you sit here, you will not score any goals. And that's not what we want you to do. Okay. So like, again, we may have 4 or 5 players, 3 players playing this position, but this video is a very quick synopsis of how we want the striker to move. Again, there's a lot more complexity to this, but these are the 3 basic tenets. Moving back and forth here, sliding where the ball's moving, sliding where the ball's moving down here, looking for these columns to get into. And if you have a passing situation and you're up in here, can I break through these two center backs? No. Let me get the ball to somebody who can, and then make a run back into these areas out here just at the top of the box. That's really about it. Okay. Um, I did mention something in the last video of don't make a run down into the two. That's really the right wing's responsibility or the left wing's responsibility. That is absolutely correct for them to get back down into. So let me re-clarify that. So if it happens in a game, we're not so, again, back to static for it. If this ball comes down to zone two and 11 cannot get to the ball, and as a striker you can get to the ball, we want you to get to the ball. Okay. What we don't want you doing is if the 11 can get to the ball, you also make a run so we have two people on the same ball. That's not what we want. So let me re-clarify that. If the 11 cannot get to the ball, the winger cannot get to the ball in either one of these examples, and you can get to the ball, then you find yourself to the ball, right? And then we have the winger move over, and then you can play the wing for a little bit while this winger moves over and plays striker. But that is really the only change here. So there's a bunch of striker videos to share about this. This is very basic. Um, I think you'll find that most strikers are scoring within the box. Obviously, I always say the same thing 10 times. This is not drawn to scale. But once you're inside this box, if the box is bigger and you're inside this box, this is an extremely dangerous situation for the defense. And you do not need a power shot to score goals. It can just be a simple pass to get the ball in here. This will also panic the keeper dramatically with having a player sitting in this box competing within this space consistently. Okay, that's it. Um, I'll share a striker video also on this post that I think I might help. That think it might help.